All right, welcome everyone to OutWrite 2022. This is our final event of the festival, the DC Queer Pride Poem a Day reading. We would just like to first start with a brief video from our sponsors. We'd like to thank the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and Gilead, our center's Arts Platinum partners, for making OutWrite and other arts programming out of the DC Center possible.
My name is Paul Ramos. I'm an MA, Medical Assistant PCS2, and I've been in a company for 5 years. I choose to work in AHF to carry the heart and soul for my dad, my late dad. He was diagnosed with HIV and AIDS. Every time I see a patient, I know that he's looking over me and he knows that I did it for him.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Saida Jiménez y soy la manager de práctica de la oficina de Falls Church in Virginia. So what has surprised me more about the company culture is my immediate manager taking her time to really train me one-on-one, making sure that I understand and I do the job that I need to do to succeed in my role.
Hi, my name is Simply Sandy. I'm a non-medical case manager here at the K Street location. I chose to work at AHF because it is a phenomenal company. The company allowed me to spread my wings, if you will. They allowed me to continue doing what I love to do, and that's serving the public. I feel as though we are a family, and I could not do what I do by myself.
My name is Dominita Morrow. I'm the office administrator for the Temple Hills AHF location. I choose to work for AHF because I like to give back to my community. My favorite thing about working with AHF is how much the organization gives to the community, how they help our patients, help them grow, the tools that they give them that our patients can't find at any other clinic.
The thing that surprised me about working for AHF, which I enjoyed, the teamwork, the employees, it's a really great work environment. You look forward to actually getting up and coming to work. AHF is one of those companies that I will say that really looks out and really cares about their employees.
My name is Sade. I'm a technician here in Baltimore, and I work with AHF because I really enjoy taking care of my patients, and I like their mission statement of being patient first, of putting patient care over profit, and getting our co-pays as close to zero as possible. I love that part.
The average baseball stadium holds about 50,000 people, enough to fill a dance floor the size of a New York City block. It was also the number of people in the US who became HIV positive every year since 2003. Then, something happened. One by one, we said, enough is enough. Instead of waiting for a cure, we took action. We got tested and retested. We talked to each other, and we talked to healthcare providers about HIV prevention options. People living with HIV started treatment right away and stuck to it, which can prevent the spread of HIV through sex. New infections went down, but we still have work to do. So let's all do our part and keep fighting, because together we can all help stop the virus. Find out what you can do at helpstopthevirus.com.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Kim Roberts, and my pronouns are she and her. Today's reading are some of the most exciting, most innovative queer poets writing today in DC. And all of them were included in a project that I put together with another person, Gann, called the DC Pride Poem-A-Day. And for over the course of a month, we released one short video a day of a different DC-based poet writing on the subject of queer love. And this was released during National Pride Month. The videos are still up and available, and I hope after hearing today's reading that you will want to go and explore them. They are online at pridepoems.com. And the project was funded by a grant from the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. We're very grateful for their support. As I mentioned, there were 30 poets who were featured, but today we're going to hear from 7 of the poets whose work I love. The first reader that we'll be hearing from is Saida Agostini. Saida is a queer Afro-Guyanese poet whose work explores the ways Black folks harness mythology to enter the fantastic. She is the author of Stunt, a chapbook reimagining the life of Nellie Jackson, a Black madam and FBI spy from Natchez, Mississippi. That was featured earlier with a terrific group reading at this conference, and you can find that online, and I hope you will. She's also the author of her first full-length collection, Let the Dead In, which was just released in the spring of 2022. Saida Agostini.
Thank you so much, Kim. Just so grateful to be in this space hosted by OutWrite DC Literary Festival, and along with all of these other amazing poets. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and ain't nothing to it but to do it. So I'm just gonna jump right in. The first poem I'm gonna read is from my collection, Let the Dead In. 2 fat Black women are making love. And the joke is right there. Ready, shuddering, and alive, rife with promise. There are so many paths that have been worn out for a quick, easy laugh. Tyler Perry strutting with a gun and wig, screaming rotund and loud like a Medea would, Martin calling out "Your mama" on television, or the meme of a young woman shot underhand, her belly in love with a tight skirt, hands moving towards an open mouth. Look at everything she devours. Imagine it. Does it make you hungry too? 2 fat Black women are making love on a bed on the floor, and they are weeping for joy. They are crying, great folds of flesh flushing and shaking. One cannot look in the mirror save for thinking of her daddy, all this ugly and skinned together, counts the men who say they hate her body as they do bitter cops and dead Black boys. 2 fat Black women are making love, and they touch each other like they can hold it. Honeyed, profane body, like patriots, like their bodies have never been folded into freezers, screamed at on streets, coaxed or threatened, sweet, like they have names, like we will know them. So my second poem is from a newer manuscript I'm working on, which is grounded by a series of short sermons. And I think this actually might be a short sermon. I would argue it is. And it's called Let the World Be Like My Pussy. The first time I looked at my pussy was after reading The Color Purple. You remember the part. Miss Seeley takes a mirror, angles it between her own soft Black thighs, and gasps at the beguiling wonder of wet purple dusk. Blind to the mundane tasks of the day, Mr. or even Shug and the hazy delights her lips can erupt unbidden. Why labor when your body is built for pleasure? Let the dishes go unwashed, the food stand moldering, fringed with its own new fungal birth. Look at yourself and know what is at the center. I've taken thousands of photos, my fingers a sacred V, cradling the clit and labia like light she keeps changing. 6 days a month, pussy is a wraith, bitter, bloody, and turning, madder than apples, limbed with its own haunting. Then pussy becomes a centaur, winged, pounding, soft and glorious, charging. She is, in short, impossible, but a revolution, a volta when another pussy is locked against her. I know the world can be like this, curling and attentive, lovelorn and imperious. Angle the mirror closer. Let us know that in any language or form, we are utterly, unerringly beautiful. Let us find the center, a shining galactic aperture, and begin again. And the last poem I'll share with y'all is actually the poem that was featured in the Poem a Day series. And this is actually one of my favorite poems ever, and it's also in my collection, Let the Dead In, Adventures at the Third Limb. I want to name our cock Chocolate Thunder. Tammy thinks I've lost my mind. I see her cock as a blaxploitation heroine, resplendent in the finest of neon spandex, draped in golden chains and a velvet cape, stiff in resolution to kick any jive turkey motherfucker ass into submission. Our cock has framed pictures of Prince on the wall and listens to Dion Estes to show her sensitive side. She is fluent in 7 languages, drinks Dos Equis, can paint, sing gospel, praise dance, and is head usher at the Church of Dynamic Discipleship. Our cock is a Renaissance stick. And if you are looking at her sideways, bitch, what has your cock done for you lately? Our cock doesn't hide when company comes, stalks out butt naked in sequin pumps, shining with lube, sits spread-eagled on the dinner table, and says embarrassing shit about things she would do to Kerry Washington. And when everyone else leaves, and only the 3 of us are left, all limbs and laughter, she pulls me and Tammy closer, our pussies climbing up her veined girth. This is how we fit together. Loud, tight, and eager, our wails, her composition, agitated, aching notes, excessio, and broken chord. In the studio later with Smokey, outfitted in a double-breasted Stacey Adams suit, matching gaiters, pinky ring, and straw Panama hat, she'll share a blunt and then play cruisin' while talking shit about how hard we came in the scent of wet. But in that moment, oh, my love. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Saida Agostini. Thank you. Our next reader is Danielle Badra. Danielle is a queer Arab American poet who was raised in Michigan and currently resides in Virginia, where she received an MFA from George Mason University. Her book, Like We Still Speak, is her first full-length collection and won the 2021 Etal Adnan Poetry Prize. Danielle Badra.
Hi, wow. That was quite the opening reading, and it was amazing, and thank you, and I loved it. Okay. And Kim, thank you for putting all this together, and OutWrite, thank you as well for this festival. But so I'm going to start with a poem that is a love poem between me and my wife. There's 2 columns to it, a left side and the right side. And the left side is my wife, Holly, who also was in the Poem a Day series. And then the right side is me. So I will read her poem and then my poem and then the 2 together. Okay. Love poem. We eat orchid for breakfast. This love is an outlier. Interpreter of my size, you ask, what is it? When I bought the print of 2 women, I didn't yet know it would be of us. My heart, trouble builds above our valley. Beloved, your neck is soft and sweet in the morning. The image is usually of rock. I see a feather. Your willingness to be blown in the wind of my grief. My mouth moves anger, but means to say gratitude. You cannot, will not, luminous point, incandescent, a star is both light and balm. Love poem. A rosemary olive oil toast. This loaf is still soft at the center. 1 or 2 slices, Habibti. You say you see mold on the crust. You say throw the whole thing away. I cut the crust off and feed us anyway. Pumpkin buttered in late autumn. We survive on the slight rot of winter. You who display Gerbera daisies at my bedside in an old sake glass, balanced on the brink of catastrophe. You are graceful with your loss, your fruit cord. I am always decomposing. Your mouth moves night, but means to say luminous. I have to relive that lunar cycle. You and I are moonshine, the stuff gold is made of. Love poem. We eat orchid for breakfast, a rosemary olive oil toast. This love is an outlier. This loaf is still soft at the center. Interpreter of my size, you ask, 1 or 2 slices, Habibti. What is it? You say you see mold on the crust. When I bought the print of 2 women, you say throw the whole thing away. I didn't yet know it would be of us. I cut the crust off and feed us anyway. My heart, pumpkin buttered in late autumn, trouble builds above our valley. We survive on the slight rot of winter. Beloved, your neck is soft and sweet. You who display Gerbera daisies in the morning at my bedside in an old sake glass. The image is usually of rock, balanced on the brink of catastrophe. I see a feather. You are graceful with your loss. Your willingness to be, your fruit cord. I am blown in the wind of my grief, always decomposing. My mouth moves anger, your mouth moves night, but means to say gratitude, but means to say luminous. You cannot, will not. I have to relive that lunar cycle. Luminous point, incandescent. You and I are moonshine. The star is both light and balm. The stuff gold is made of. I just have 2 more poems. I'll read the poem of the day poem, which is The Garden of My Agony. And then I'll close with 1 more. So this is The Garden of My Agony. Always, always say always. Only today can we say our story. 1,000 small Persian horses sleeping safely. Yes, the syllable sprains like a dry branch in the plaza with the moon on your forehead. Come out and shine like a crocus shines when I embrace your waist 4 nights. No one knows the perfume that ignites our alphabet. No one knows the martyrdom half lost in a pollen-dusted lawn. Do not question elegance. The world opens up to you between gypsum and jasmine. Do not ask the word what shapes each side. Your body is a fugitive of always. Enemy of the snow, stamped on a worn wall, a hummingbird of love between the teeth. This is not what we are, nor what we want. And finally, this poem is for all the LGBTQ youth specifically out there who are facing a lot of hate right now with the anti-trans and don't say gay laws, all of that. So the first line, the title of the poem is from Gloria Anzaldúa, and it's, "We are not reconciled to the oppressors who wet their howl on our grief." We are not born
Hey,
to
Danielle,
Yeah.
could you talk just a little bit slower?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Okay, so the title, I'll just say it again slower, is "We are not reconciled to the oppressors who wet their howl on our grief. We are not born to be barons of wealth. We are soft-spoken wordsmiths, not soldiers. We are not broken by hardship or hate. We are not reconciled to tyranny, to false truths, to our bloody tongues. We will spit out the vitriol we swallowed as kids. To our oppressors, we will say, wait for us, well aware of who we are and what we want to taste. Whet our teeth against their ragged amendments, their inherent greed and emptiness. We will howl at their hollowed out faces. We will spit on supremacy till thirst takes our throats. Our resistance is written without ink. Our grief is rising.
Thank you so much, Danielle Badra. Up next is Brandon Blue. Brandon is a Black queer poet and French teacher. He was based in Washington, D.C. until just recently. He's now in Phoenix, Arizona, pursuing an MFA degree from Arizona State University. He's worked as a reader for Storm Cellar and Poet Lore, and his work has appeared in Pank, Beyond Queer Words, Lucky Jefferson, and other publications. Brandon Blue.
Thank you so much, Kim, for inviting me to this reading and including me in the project. It means a lot. I'm going to start with the poem that was featured in the project called Trying to Sit Up. Trying to sit up, a golden shovel after Margaret Atwood. There are moments when I think of you lying next to me as we try to fit neatly like children's toys into each other. You bent crescent-like, me folded neatly into your armpit like you ask. In this position, speaking aloud, we trade soft things to hook one another with desire, lolling into the mattress. And you say, almost like an agreement, I could happily lie here eye to eye. Now with only morning light, a mess of sheets and covers fished from the closet, worm to hook to wrap myself around, I can only answer questions that are left ended open. What was truly in my eye? The second poem that I'm going to be reading, like in my introduction, I recently moved to Phoenix where I knew it was going to be hot. Did not know how hot and tired that would make me all of the time. And of course, with strong emotions come strong poems. So here is a poem called Sun Night. Sun Night. I've only been in Arizona a month, and I've learned that noon is the worst hour. At noon, the shades must close, the lights come on to keep comfortable. In this sun night, I lay on the floor tired from the sun's subtle drying, a plum pruning each afternoon. One day I forgot to close the blinds, came back to heavy breaths and sweating feet. Enveloped, I imagined myself cocooned and hoping, becoming molten and delirious, reforming into something made for the heat, something buoyant with gears, not quite human, an internal AC, something with feathers hanging that I might lay on, hope, and sing. And the last poem I'm going to be reading is kind of an oldie, but made me think about it because of having to stay inside all of the time. And also, now I'm thinking about it, pretty like extreme because also includes leaving an apartment and going somewhere else. So I'll end with a double sonnet called Double Sonnet. Double sonnet, after Matthew Brandt's will, 2007. I killed a bug today. I don't know what kind or who named it, but I killed it. And it scared me when I saw it climbing up the wall towards the window by my bed. Slowly creeping, a black dot against the white wall. You thought I wouldn't see you leaving, but I killed you, and it felt right. The crack of the exoskeleton under the thumb as entrails found breath against the dermis in the caverns of my fingerprint. A succulent gush from a sudden gash against the wall. Above my pillow, like splattered brains, the black dot lies now, a green-red stain. I'm painting my room so I'll get my deposit back and stop at the stain. I take a picture of it and hang it in my new place. Sometimes I stare at the print melting into the wall and the stain is back in my room. I added a black frame, not around the edge, but closer to the stain. A new picture in picture framed to center on you. I stare at it like a magic eye. When I look at the walls, I want to see you there, how I remembered. But the image is never quite rich enough. And sometimes you're not all there. But I've got you framed in a picture, pictured in a stain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandon Blue. Our next reader is Dwayne Lawson-Brown. Dwayne is a crocheting, breakdancing parent, doubling as a poet and a particularly vibrant, well-known host of various local literary events. Lawson-Brown is a foolish lover with a passion for connecting communities. They prove that you are constantly learning and self-exploration is an ongoing practice. Dwayne Lawson-Brown.
Oh, honored, absolutely honored to be present. Love to everyone who has shared, everyone who's going to share. Love to Kim for putting this together. And thank you to OutWrite for having us. I will be reading 3 pieces and I will just jump into it. The issue is I'm broke and broken and stitching together a life with cardboard and wet yarn. I'm busy and bothered while trying not to be a bother in these bothersome times. See, I'm tired and tied to a tireless age. I'm watching the world and what I say and say. The world watches my every move, the way I work, make the streets a sweatshop, hands, factory and faculty, mouth, a machine, syllabic syntax produced. Even in death, my body works, carrying the stigma of Black, queer, parent, the motion of stillness. Busybody it is with all this existing. It's amazing it can still find moments for meals. And the buzz is deafening. The chatter of a world too hungry to enjoy its feast, clamoring for the next bite as it chokes down another life. I refuse to be eaten today. Won't be swallowed or chewed. I remain whole, merely morsels to share if I choose. In this moment, I claim a stillness only mountains know, one in presence in motion, foundation in rotation. Today, I will not be moved. Now for pretty happy poems. Wrote this poem a few weeks ago. And so Tuesdays are for pretty. It's Tuesday and I'm answering the night's call. Slither from beneath blankets, get gussied up, put on my favorite dress, the yellow one that flows when I twirl. Hope that someone sees me and thinks pretty, with my ashy elbows and messy bun, dirt-caked, unwashed hands, a receipt for an afternoon of pulling weeds. It's Tuesday, and tonight is the perfect mix of lonesome and arousal. Find a place to share space before the cops shut it down, or the price is too high for us to stay, or the right one says the wrong thing, and we hear that familiar chopper sound. Perfect weather to make a memory with a stranger and throw wrists to the wind. It's Tuesday. Catch me twirling under bright lights, the prettiest boy in the streets. Lastly, this is the piece that is featured on the website, so pridepoems.com. Check it out. Love in the in-between. My partner wants to steal my dresses, wear them around hips I long to hold close. She questions what this makes her. Why eyes linger on my legs in stockings that accentuate what people use to define me. She loves the woman I hide inside, the way I love her, deep with want. Questions what this makes her, a kisser of queer body, stroker of them in him trappings, or simply a lover in all the in-between. My partner sits in my closet, rank with the stench of longing, and I, a pound of flesh worth the wait.
Thank you so much, Dwayne Lawson-Brown. Next up is Tanya Olson. Tanya lives in Silver Spring, Maryland, and is a lecturer in English at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Her first book, Boyishly, was published by Yes Yes Books and received a 2014 American Book Award. Her second book, Stay, was also released by Yes Yes Books. In 2010, she won a Discovery Boston Review Prize, and she was named a 2011 Lambda Fellow by the Lambda Literary Foundation. Her poem, 54 Prince, was chosen for inclusion in Best Poems 2015. Tanya Olson.
Thank you very much. I want to say what a pleasure it is to read with all these poets today. And I want to thank Kim and John for putting together the Pride Poets. And I want to thank OutWrite for having us here today. So I'm working on a new book that's called Last Butch Island. And it kind of looks at two things. One, how do you make a butch? And two, what happens when butches are gone? And I just want to be really clear to say that this is not that anti-trans argument. This is not that butches are being replaced or butches are being erased. This manuscript is looking at the idea that butches are going extinct, and that is something that is going to happen to me, and it's going to happen to you, and it's going to happen to every group, and it is going to happen to this planet. And so this book is trying to write about that moment in that moment. So the poem that was part of the Poem a Day was a poem towards the end that looks at that idea of what happens when butches are gone. Today, I want to read the first poem in the manuscript that explores that question of how to make a butch. And this poem is called Born Backwards. Born backwards, feet first, ready to run. Problem for the doctor, danger to my mother. Slides in his forceps, locks them round my skull. Two firm tugs leave a dent I wear to this day. Such a queer way to begin. An early reader, first job to toddle down the driveway, fetch the paper, read the headline aloud. White House defends air raids, farm prices recover. Never learned to read, just read. Games on the way to see grandma, spell what we saw. P-I-G, pig, C-O-W, cow, D-O-N-K-E-Y, donkey. Spell what we hear on the radio. That's Elvis, E-L-V-I-S. They say he's back, but he never really went away. I stay with grandma a few weeks every summer. Jobs at home don't have a name, but grandma calls them chores. Feed sheep, weed beds, pick beans. You get the low ones, I'll get the high ones. Together, we're a perfect pair. Those summer weeks offer the purest love I will ever know. At lunch, the radio plays funeral music. Deep voice, service, place, and time. Grandma tells me something about every name we hear. Kin, job, where she saw them last. We nap and wake to watch General Hospital, which I always think is the doctor's because of the way it starts. When the party line rings, not our ring, grandma turns down the sound, raises her eyebrows, puts a finger to her lips, picks up and listens long enough to know what she needs to know. Before bed, I read to her from a chapter book. She buys them from yard sales, saves them from what the library throws out. This one about running a dairy. When I correctly pronounce pasteurize, she shakes her head in awe. How could a little girl even know that word? I swear you must have lived before. While I am away, the yellow apple tree at home gets split in two by lightning. My father builds a stand in its still living half. For you, for reading, he explains when I return. The rest of the summer, I work through the sack of great kid classics Grandma gives me when I leave. Up there, I eat the apples that still grow at hand, in each a tang of fire. One book of songy poems roots in me. A fish who is caught turns into a woman and promptly runs away. That summer, I live off the ground, beneath the sky, surrounded by the rustle of tall as me corn. Below, the constant thrum of wasps drunk on windfall apples. Every morning, I battle Rue, the meanest rooster who ever lived. His flash of spurs when I gather eggs hurts my feelings. All Rue knows is to protect his flock, my mother counsels, and to him, you are just a giant girl who steals. Chores at Grandma's are gentler too. Feed the bottle lambs, give them names, but lambs are scary also. That hunger when they spot me bringing the milk bucket, the power, the need in their unrelenting suck. Before she opens the pasture gate, Grandma rubber bands bread bags over my shoes. While she makes supper, Grandma ties a string to each end of the fly swatter so I can wear it over my shoulder and play it like a guitar. She claps every time I spin around and announce, "Hello, my name is Johnny Cash." When my parents come to take me back, I introduce them to the lambs, reveal the names I have chosen: Peanuts, Popcorn, Cracker Jacks. My mother feeds them apple slices as they gently lip her hand. My friend Clark insists the only people who want big gardens as adults never had to work in one as kids. He's not entirely wrong about this. Hoe, dig, plant, weed, water, pick, every day is something. My least favorite job, plucking hornworms off the tomatoes. I drown each one in a coffee can of kerosene we use later to light the trash barrel. Sing to the corn as I kill, return to sender, address unknown. Lay down in the corn to hide, read Frankenstein, the next in my summer series. The monster learns to fit in by watching. The monster runs so as not to hurt what he loves. The monster promises, I will be with you on your wedding night. The monster wishes to be a monster no more, but the world just won't let him be. This is the last summer I am content. Soon I begin to dream of leaving. Believe to really be, I must be somewhere else. Clothes, jobs, books, music, the ways I build this distance. I still love Elvis, still read voraciously, grow only tomatoes, name animals thematically. This year, my dentist correctly identified me as a well-water kid. No fluoride in those early years makes the teeth you have today. Some book taught me I was different than my parents. Some book told me queer kids run. I always misremember that fish poem by Yeats. The woman gets away, but the man vows he will find her and keep her until time and times are done. He believes together they will pick some silver apples from the moon. He thinks she will wait and watch as he plucks golden apples from the sun. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya Olson. Our next reader is Michelle Parkerson. Michelle is a writer, lecturer, and award-winning filmmaker based in Washington, D.C. Her work has screened at prestigious international film festivals, including the Sundance Film Festival, the Berlin Film Festival, and AFI Fest. She has documented the lives of LGBTQ icon Audre Lorde, jazz innovator Betty Carter, a cappella artists Sweet Honey in the Rock, and legendary male impersonator Stormé de Larvarie. Oh, Michelle, did I say it correctly?
It's Delavier.
Thank you. I should have asked you in advance. Parkerson served on the faculties of Northwestern University, Temple University, Howard University, and the University of Delaware, as well as the DC Mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs Advisory Committee and the board of Mary's House for Older Adults Incorporated. Michelle Parkerson.
I want to thank and echo everyone's thanks to you, Kim, and to John for compiling the 2022 DC Pride Poems cohort. And it's an honor to be among you and to hear all of you and see all of you on the screen. It's a blessing, some of all of us on the screen. And also to OutWrite for providing the space to put our energy in the air. This first piece is called Lest We Forget. It is the piece that was selected for the DC Pride Poems Project. These black, brown, beige faces of the least in life took the streets, defied empires, woman to woman, man to man. It began ablaze, high tacky queens, blood-soaked crinolines, tear gas, mace, a few fearless freaks, flamboyant, fed up on police brutality, the menace of the vice, spontaneous riots, bushfire round Stonewall Bar. Meanwhile, the 6 o'clock news brings you the blatant courage of the fag front line. America discovers sexual preference, still believes in Rock Hudson. It is 1969. Black and Puerto Rican sodomites, proud, leather, dykes, in a face-off with the world for 3 nights. Greenwich Village is a minefield. Are you there? Let us now praise a few good women and men, ripe for insurrection one chaste June night. Pushed to the wall, beaten to shadows, cutting back the night. These, the fringe, black, brown, beige faces of the least in life, ignited a movement to love in the light. Are you there? Shopping bag dykes. This appears in the Metro Weekly current issue of OutWrite 2022 special issue. It's called Shopping Bag Dykes. In our old age, we will have gray silver hair, wise or wasteful wrinkles, maiden, aunt, spinsters, smiling. Others taking 10 steps to our one will not see us. The eyes not knowing our shadows, the power they imposed. Time will shroud us in crowds, closets, camouflaged in the normalcy of seasons. We were women who loved women. We were people who loved ourselves. Mystery spot for DR 1. A slow strip tease, the courtship of women, dropping veils, bump and grind as we explore, implore. Delicate burlesque, this, cultivate the fan dance of motives, mixed gray mojo, some sleight of hand on my heart, the sly wink of second chance. 2. Full swag, big shoulder, you enter like your hometown, a sojourner in search of same, and I, only child, last in my father's line, have learned to navigate the higher tide of you, who gave meaning to the hours, who flirts beautifully. Horoscopes caution, planets in retrograde, the blue blood moon speaks. Should I breathe you in, though you're unknown? Should I answer? And lastly, this is a in memoriam piece for dancer, actress, and Afrofuturist icon, Nichelle Nichols, who passed away at the end of July. It's called Love Note to Lieutenant Uhura, or Confessions of a Black Feminist Trekkie. Searching for intelligent life beyond the color line. Dear Uhura, you came to me across the glow of a 26-inch Motorola, in that time slot where Gomer Pyle and the murder of Martin Luther King reran on the tube of plenty. At 14, dreaming ordinary Negro dreams, I longed to go where men had not gone before. But where were my role models in the vast wasteland of 60s TV? No women of color, no place. Then you, of the early Afrocentric name, orbited in deep space between soul power and high technology. Each week I watched you work those fathomless controls, then swivel love sexy in your contoured chair. A primetime announcement of living color. You were my dark star, framed in a small screen universe. I tuned in, beamed up from slavery, past de facto adolescence to a not too distant stardate where Black girls survive. And without commercial interruption, you touched my latent heart, launched this voyage into lesbian living. Lieutenant Uhura, a galaxy calls of women who entrust women with their fragile passion. Sisters charting the unknown. Once you were tomorrow's Black woman, the postmodern promise that we were more than colored people. Now facing the 21st century, I rediscover your image, measure the meaning of affirmative action in the final frontier.
Ah, thank you, Michelle Parkerson. Love that last poem. Our final reader this afternoon is Dan Vera. Dan is a writer, editor, watercolorist, and literary historian, the recipient of the Oscar Wilde Award for Poetry and the Letras Latinas Red Hen Poetry Prize. He's co-editor of Iman Iman, Poets Writing in the Anzalduan Borderlands, and author of 2 books of poetry, Speaking Wiri Wiri and The Space Between Our Danger and Delight. His work is featured by the Poetry Foundation and the National Endowment for the Arts and included in college and university curricula. Various journals, including Notre Dame Review, Poet Lore, and Beltway Poetry Quarterly, and in anthologies, including Ghost Fishing, an Eco-Justice Poetry Anthology, The Travelers Made Mecum, and The Queer South, LGBTQ Writers on the American South. Dan Vera.
Thanks, Kim. It's a real honor to be here and to read with all of you and get in my feelings over some really beautiful poetry. And thank you to the OutWrite organizers for putting this opportunity together again. I have 3 poems. I wanted to read a poem titled Lingering Fraction. And it starts with an epithingy from the New York Times, December 17th, 1963. It's an epigraph from an article in the New York Times titled Growth of Overt Homosexuality in City Provokes Wide Concern. Lingering Fraction. Some homosexuals claim infallibility in identifying others of their kind by the eyes. There's a look that lingers a fraction of a second too long. Hail the lingering fraction that secured us, the inborn longing that led us to one another, one by one on the street corners, under the glowing lamps of the inviting city. Praise the strength of a spirit that attempted to believe, that ventured forth from body to body when the law and word was to condemn, to revile, to electrocute a mind so wedded to love. Holy the glimmer of recognition, in the eyes of those we sought, who reflected back that fraction of belonging, who spoke without words what the heart would dare admit. And then the second poem is titled Miraculous Anniversary. Here we are at 20 years, my trusted hand, my heart and ribbon twin. No words were in my boyhood heart for a promise like you. Living in fear for lack of this, no water, no quench for chapped lips. Whispers were told in farther parts, but I had no ears for such stories. My name was either silence or a curse, written in some earlier illuminated script. Still, the heart speaks in capillary action, swims for a greater stream. You, my current, my rivulet, with no future, nothing but experience, years living with someone else's words, praying to someone else's God, until the day I spied you across a table while you paid attention to later ask me the names of the poets I spoke of as we walked along that strange city street. Those were the first hours of our life together, held aloft in each other's caress, then a year of longing for you across distance until we chanced at whole hours and days and now years. The very idea of finding you is pure alien calculus, and yet we did, and I, who hold no belief in heavens or order, must admit to the symmetry of your arm around my shoulder, the way your laughter breaks me open like a lock with its key. In my stifling years of aloneness, I would sometimes repeat the Upanishad that all was emptiness and emptiness is in all, and yet in barren stone, you rose like a blue flower, the sky seated in earth to rise like some miracle. I will create a chapel to that wonder alone. No religion holds a greater thing than what I know from daily word. You are good and here and mine. I know nothing more to be true than this. The last poem is the poem that was published with the Gay Pride Poems. It's titled Some Nights. Some nights I come to bed late because you are the early riser, the dog asleep at your side, your breath in rhythm with her snoring, or reversed, but always intertwined. And I move gingerly into bed, not to rouse you too from dreaming with my own settling down. And I lie there glad in this restful harmony, so much so I can't help myself, but move so closely to your ear and whisper, I love you, I love you, I love you, into your dreaming, so that I imagine the breeze in the trees on your forest walk is whispering that refrain, or the gurgling brook or the soaring bird overhead is singing it to you clearly now. And if it's a nightmare you are in, it takes a sudden turn for joy when the magistrate declares the jury has found you unanimously loved, or the jeering crowd has abruptly changed to cheers to see it's your beautiful heart on parade in the public square of their now blessed town, where bells are pealing in adoration. Let it be for me to attest that in all places, even in your dreams, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved. Thank you.
Dan Vera. All of these poets are contributors to DC Pride Poems 2022. The website, once again, is pridepoems.com. And I hope that hearing some of these voices today, you get some understanding of just how excited John, Gann, and I were to put this compilation together. We do hope to do it again for a second year, so please stay tuned on that. For 2022, our theme was queer love. We will announce a new theme for 2023. I want to thank again our interpreters, Melchior and Joe, for doing the difficult work of translating poetry. I also want to thank everyone at OutWrite DC, in particular, Marlena Chertok, Malik Thompson, and Emily Holland. All three of them also are featured in the DC Pride Poem a Day project. So please look for their work as well at pridepoems.com. And a final thing I want to say, the bookshop for OutWrite DC is Loyalty Bookstores. And you can find the link on the YouTube page and also on the OutWrite website. Please buy books by these authors and support a locally owned bookstore. And thank you again. This was just a magical afternoon of reading. Once again, pridepoems.com. Thank you.